I stood at the family reunion, surrounded by laughter and chatter, yet I felt a strange distance from it all. The bright colors of the decorations, the aroma of grilled food, and the happy faces of my relatives created a warm atmosphere. But my heart raced for a different reason. Across the yard, I caught a glimpse of him, Nathan. Our eyes met, and time seemed to freeze. In that instant, a storm of emotions swirled inside me, awakening feelings I thought I had buried long ago. I shifted my gaze, trying to focus on my husband, Mark, who was animatedly talking with my uncle. His laughter rang out, a comforting sound that usually brought me joy. Yet, as I glanced back at Nathan, I felt an electric pull. It was as if the years melted away, and I was no longer the woman who had settled into a comfortable routine. Instead, I was reminded of the wild, carefree girl I once was, the girl who used to dream of adventure and passion. "Lila, come join us," my cousin called, waving me over. I forced a smile, but my mind was elsewhere. I could still feel Nathan's gaze on me, heavy with unspoken words. The laughter around me felt hollow, a stark contrast to the tension brewing in my chest. What was happening to me? Why did Nathan's presence ignite something within me that I thought was long extinguished? "Hey, Lila," Nathan said, approaching me with that familiar grin. It was the same grin that had once made my heart skip a beat. "It's been a while, hasn't it?" His voice was smooth, like honey, and it sent shivers down my spine. "Yes, it has. You look different," I replied, trying to keep my tone light. But my heart raced as I took in the way he had filled out, the confidence that surrounded him now. He laughed softly, a sound that echoed my own memories of us. "I guess we've both changed, but some things never really go away, do they?" His eyes bore into mine, and I felt a longing I hadn't acknowledged for years. Was it wrong to feel this way? My marriage to Mark had been solid, hadn't it? Yet, here was Nathan, stirring a tempest inside me. I glanced at Mark, who was deep in conversation with my uncle, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just a few feet away. The thought of betraying him felt heavy and wrong. Yet, Nathan's presence was intoxicating. "What do you mean by that?" I asked, trying to redirect the conversation. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Remember that summer by the lake? We were young, wild, and free. I've missed that part of us." His words felt like a spark, igniting memories I had locked away. I could almost feel the sun on my skin, the thrill of adventure dancing in my veins. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. But that was a long time ago. Life is different now. I tried to sound firm, but my voice shook slightly. Was I truly ready to close that door forever? "Life doesn't have to be boring, Lila. You know that." He leaned in even closer, and I could smell his cologne, a scent that brought back a flood of memories. "What if I told you I could help you feel that thrill again?" His words hung in the air, a tempting invitation that sent chills down my spine. I was torn, grappling with the thought of betrayal. "Nathan, I can't. I have Mark. We have a life together." "Do you? Or is it just a routine?" he asked, his eyes piercing through my defenses. "You deserve more than that. You deserve to feel alive, to feel passion." His words struck a chord deep within me. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to feel that spark again. But at what cost? I thought about Mark's unwavering trust, his love that I had promised to cherish. Was I willing to risk it all for a taste of the past? As Nathan stepped back, the air felt charged with unspoken tension. The laughter around us faded into the background, and for a moment, it was just the two of us in a world filled with possibilities and dangers. My heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear, and I realized that this reunion was about to change everything. The sound of laughter and chatter faded into the background, as I let my mind drift back to those carefree days of my youth. I could picture Nathan's smile, bright and inviting, as we ran through the fields behind our parents' houses. Those were the days when life felt endless, and the world was painted in shades of adventure and excitement. "Hey, remember when we tried to build that treehouse?" I asked, a soft chuckle escaping my lips as I thought about our silly attempts. It felt like a lifetime ago, but the memory was vivid, almost alive. "Of course," Nathan replied, his voice still as smooth as I remembered. "We thought we were going to be architects, but what we built was more of a nest for squirrels than a house." He laughed, and I couldn't help but join him, feeling warmth spread through me. As I stood there, the reunion buzzing around me, I couldn't shake the feeling of longing that had awoken inside. Life had changed so much since those days. I glanced at Mark, chatting with some family members, his laughter ringing clear and strong. He was my rock, the one who had stood by me through thick and thin. Yet, with Nathan nearby, I felt a different kind of connection pulling me away from that stability. "It's strange, isn't it?" I said, turning my gaze back to Nathan. "How life takes us in different directions." "It is," he agreed, his eyes locking onto mine. "Sometimes I wish we could go back, just for a moment, feel that freedom again." I swallowed hard. The thrill of our past was intoxicating, but it also stirred something deep within me, something I thought I had buried long ago. I felt a pang of guilt as I remembered my life with Mark, the quiet moments we shared, the love we built together. But Nathan represented an excitement I had not felt in years. The contrast was sharp and painful. "What would it mean to reconnect with you?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The question hung in the air between us, heavy with unspoken possibilities. Nathan took a step closer, his expression serious. "Lila, I can't pretend that I don't feel this connection. It's real and it's powerful. But what about Mark? What about your life?" I could see the concern in his eyes, and it made my heart ache. "I don't know," I admitted, feeling lost. "I love Mark, but sometimes I wonder if I'm missing out on something, if I've become too comfortable." "Comfort can feel like a cage," Nathan said softly. "But you have to decide what you truly want. You can't go back to the past, but you can choose how you want to move forward." His words echoed in my mind. I had always thought I knew what I wanted. Mark gave me stability, love, and a sense of belonging. But Nathan reminded me of passion, adventure, and the thrill of being alive. It was a dangerous mix, and I felt myself being pulled in two different directions. "I don't want to hurt anyone," I said, my voice trembling. "Mark trusts me. I can't betray that trust." Nathan nodded, understanding flooding his gaze. "I get it. We're both in complicated situations. But you have to be honest with yourself, Lila. What do you really want?" As I stood there, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. The warmth of nostalgia battled with the chill of guilt, and it left me dizzy. Nathan was right. I needed to confront my feelings. But how? What would that mean for my life, my marriage? "Can we just take a moment?" I asked, my heart racing. "Just to breathe and remember who we were?" "Absolutely," Nathan replied, a soft smile breaking across his face. "I'm here for that." With our connection rekindled in that simple moment, I began to realize the depth of my struggle. Nathan represented a part of me that I had buried, and as I navigated the sea of emotions, I knew I had to face the truth. It was a truth I had been avoiding, and it was time to embrace it. But what would that mean for my future? What would it mean for Mark? The questions hung in the air, heavy and unresolved, as I stood at the crossroads of my heart. I felt a pull towards Nathan that I could not ignore. Each secret conversation we had, each stolen glance, was like a thread weaving us closer together. It was dangerous, yet thrilling. I could feel the electricity between us, sparking with every word exchanged. As I prepared for our secret meeting, my heart raced with excitement and fear. "Are you sure about this?" I whispered to myself, standing in front of the mirror. My reflection looked back at me, uncertain and scared. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that I was still a married woman. Mark trusted me, and I could not shake the guilt that crept in every time I thought of Nathan. Later that day, Nathan texted me, just as he had done many times before. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I've missed you." The message sent a shiver down my spine. I glanced at my phone, biting my lip, feeling the weight of the decision I was about to make. As evening approached, I found myself pacing in my living room, the clock ticking loudly in my ears. Mark was still at work, and the house felt heavy with anticipation. I grabbed my coat and checked my phone for the time. "Just one more hour," I murmured, my heart racing in my chest. I knew this meeting could change everything. I arrived at the cafe where Nathan suggested we meet. The place was dimly lit, with soft music playing in the background. I spotted him sitting in a corner, his eyes lighting up when he saw me. I felt a thrill run through me as I approached him. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual, but my voice trembled slightly. "Hi, Lila. I'm so glad you came." He smiled, and I felt my heart flutter. We talked for a while, the conversation flowing easily, as if no time had passed since our youth. But with every laugh we shared, a pang of guilt hit me. I thought of Mark, his trust, and how I was betraying it with every moment spent with Nathan. "Do you remember that summer we spent by the lake?" Nathan asked, his eyes shining with memories. I nodded, a smile creeping onto my face. "Of course. We spent hours just talking and dreaming about the future. It was so carefree," Nathan said, leaning closer. "I miss that. I miss us." His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I felt my heart tugging in two directions, one towards Nathan and the other towards my life with Mark. I wanted to escape the routine that had become my life, but was I willing to risk everything for a moment of passion? "Maybe we should just forget all this," I said suddenly, my voice barely above a whisper. "This isn't right." "Lila," Nathan said, his expression softening. "I know this is complicated, but I can't help how I feel about you. I never stopped caring." I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to block out the confusion in my mind. "But Mark," I started, but the words caught in my throat. "He doesn't know, Lila. He trusts you. But what about you? What do you really want?" His question hit me hard. What did I want? I wanted to feel alive again, to chase the thrill I had lost somewhere along the way. But I also loved Mark. I had built a life with him, and I could not ignore that. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Mark. "Hey, I'm on my way home. Can't wait to see you." My heart sank. I glanced at Nathan, panic rising in my chest. "I have to go," I said, standing up abruptly. "I can't do this." "Lila, wait!" Nathan reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "I'm sorry, Nathan. I can't," I said, my voice shaking. I turned and rushed out of the cafe, my mind racing. The thrill of our connection lingered, but so did the weight of my choices. As I walked home, I knew I was standing at a crossroads. Each step felt heavier as I thought about the life I had built with Mark and the dangerous game I had played with Nathan. I had to confront my feelings and the reality of what I was about to lose. The night of the secret meeting finally arrived, and my heart raced with a mix of anticipation and fear. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my hair for the fourth time. The dress I chose felt both exciting and terrifying. Did I really want to go through with this? I took a deep breath. trying to calm the storm of emotions swirling inside me. As I walked out the door, I felt like I was stepping into a world filled with uncertainty. The restaurant was dimly lit, and the soft hum of conversation surrounded me as I waited at our agreed meeting spot. My mind was racing with thoughts of Nathan. What would we talk about? Would we reminisce about the past or explore the feelings that had resurfaced? Just then, I spotted him walking towards me, a charming smile on his face. My heart skipped a beat. "Lila," he said warmly, pulling me into a gentle embrace. "I've been waiting for this moment." "Me too," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. The chemistry between us crackled in the air like electricity, and for a moment, I forgot everything else. As we settled into a cozy booth, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was treading on dangerous ground. We talked about our lives, our memories, and the dreams we once shared. Nathan's laughter filled the space around us, reminding me of the carefree days of our youth. But as the conversation deepened, so did my internal conflict. I felt the thrill of reconnecting with him, yet guilt clawed at my conscience. "Do you ever think about what could have been?" Nathan asked, his gaze piercing through me. I hesitated, my heart racing. "Sometimes, but I have a family now," I replied, my voice shaky. "I can't just throw that away." "I get it," he said, his expression turning serious. "But don't you think you deserve to be happy too? To feel alive?" His words resonated with me, waking desires I had buried deep within. Just as I was about to respond, the door swung open, and I froze. Mark walked in, looking for me. My heart sank. This was the last thing I wanted. "Lila?" he called out, scanning the room. I felt trapped. The moment I shared with Nathan was shattered as Mark approached our booth, confusion etched on his face. "What are you doing here?" Mark asked, his voice thick with disbelief. I stammered, my mind racing. I wanted to explain, to make him understand, but the words wouldn't come. "I asked him to meet me," Nathan interjected, his tone calm yet firm. "We were just catching up." Mark's eyes widened, and I could see the hurt washing over his features. "Catching up?" he echoed, his voice strained. "You call this catching up?" I felt the weight of my choices crashing down on me. The look of betrayal in Mark's eyes pierced through my heart. "Mark, I didn't mean for this to happen," I pleaded, my voice trembling. "I was just confused." "Confused?" he repeated, his tone sharp. "You're here with him, Lila. How can you say that?" I glanced at Nathan, who looked equally taken aback by the sudden turn of events. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, sensing the tension. I turned back to Mark. "Please, let me explain. I was feeling lost, and Nathan reminded me of a part of myself I thought I lost. But I love you, Mark. I do." "Do you?" Mark asked, his voice cracking. "Or are you just in love with the idea of him, the thrill of something new?" His words hit me hard. I realized that this moment was not just about desire. It was about the lives of those I loved. I had crossed a line, and now I had to face the consequences. "I never wanted to hurt you," I said, tears welling in my eyes. I don't know what to do." Mark took a step back, the shock evident on his face. "You need to figure that out, Layla. Because right now, I don't even know who you are anymore." As he turned to leave, I felt a part of me shatter. I watched him walk away, the weight of my choices heavy on my heart. I knew that this moment would change everything, and I was left standing at a crossroads, facing the reality of my actions. The days following the confrontation felt like I was walking through a fog. Each step was heavy with the weight of my choices, and every glance at Mark reminded me of the pain I had caused. I could see it in his eyes, the hurt, the confusion, and the betrayal. It was like a knife twisting in my heart. Lila, can we talk? Mark's voice broke the silence one evening. I had been staring out of the window, lost in thoughts of what could have been, and the sound of his voice pulled me back to the reality of our situation. I turned to face him, my heart racing. Yeah, of course. He motioned for me to sit down at the kitchen table. The air was thick with unspoken words. I could feel my palms sweating as I took a seat, trying to find the right words to ease the storm brewing between us. I don't understand, he began, his voice trembling slightly. Why, Lila? Why did this happen? I looked down at the table, tracing the grain of the wood with my finger. I don't know, Mark. I was lost. I thought I was just reconnecting with a part of my past, but I never intended to hurt you. But you did, he said, his voice rising slightly. You hurt me. You put everything we built at risk for what? A thrill? A moment of passion? The accusation stung, and I felt tears prick at my eyes. It wasn't just about that. Nathan, he made me feel alive again. I thought I had lost that part of myself, but I see now how foolish that was. Mark ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration that I knew all too well. You were happy with me, Lila. I thought we had a good life together. What changed? I don't know, I burst out, my voice cracking. Maybe I was just going through the motions. I got caught up in the nostalgia, in memories of who I used to be. But that doesn't excuse what I did. Silence hung between us, heavy and suffocating. I could see Mark's jaw clenching, the muscles tightening as he fought to maintain his composure. Do you love him? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The question hit me like a punch to the gut. No, I admitted, my voice shaking. I don't love him. I was confused. I loved who I was with him, but that was a long time ago. I love you, Mark. I lost my way. Then why did you let it go so far? His eyes searched mine, looking for answers I struggled to provide. You could have stopped before it got to this point. I thought I could handle it, I said, the truth spilling out. I thought I could just have fun without it meaning anything. I was wrong. Mark leaned back in his chair, his face a mixture of sorrow and frustration. What do we do now? Can we fix this? The question hung in the air, and I felt a mix of hope and fear. I want to try, I said softly. I want to make this work, but I know it won't be easy. I need to understand why I did this and what it means for us. Can I trust you again? He asked, his voice low, almost defeated. I want to earn your trust back, I replied, my heart aching at the thought of the damage I had done. I know it will take time, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. He nodded slowly, the tension in his face easing just a fraction. I need time to process this, Lila. I need to figure out how to move forward. I understand, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Just know that I'm here, ready to talk whenever you are. I want to rebuild what we had. As the evening wore on, I felt a glimmer of hope. The path ahead was uncertain, but I was determined to face it. I knew I had a long road of healing ahead, both for myself and for our relationship. But I was ready to take the first step. As I sat on the edge of our bed, the weight of my choices pressed down on me like a heavy blanket. The silence in the room felt thick, almost suffocating. I had spent the last few days in a haze of guilt and confusion. I knew I needed to find a way to heal, not just for myself, but for Mark too. Can we talk? I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mark looked up from his spot on the couch, surprise flickering in his eyes. He nodded slowly, his expression guarded. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. I want to understand what happened between us. I need to understand why I let things get so out of hand. Mark shifted in his seat, his fingers fidgeting with the edge of a cushion. "I don't know if I can explain it either, Lila. It hurt to see you with him." His words stung, but they also opened a door. "I know, and I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I got lost in my own feelings, and it blinded me." He looked at me, his eyes searching mine for sincerity. "I just want to know if you still want to be with me. If you still love me." Tears welled up in my eyes. "I do love you, Mark. I never stopped. But I need to figure out what that love looks like now. After everything." Mark nodded, his expression softening. "Okay, we can figure it out together. But it's going to take time." I felt a flicker of hope. "I'm willing to try. I want to be honest with you. I need to be honest with myself." As the days passed, we began to talk more openly. Some conversations were easier than others, but each time we spoke, I felt a small piece of the weight lift. One night, as we sat at the kitchen table, I asked him, "What do you think love really is?" Mark paused, his brow furrowed. "I think it's about trust and respect. It's about being there for each other, even when things get tough." I nodded, reflecting on his words. I realized I took our trust for granted. I let my desires overshadow what we built together. He reached across the table and took my hand. "It's not just about what you did. It's about how we can move forward. I want us to be stronger than before." His touch sent warmth through me. I knew the path to redemption wouldn't be easy, but it felt possible. "Let's start by being more open," I suggested. "I want to share everything with you, even the hard parts." Mark smiled gently. "I'd like that. We can create a new chapter together." As we continued to talk, I began to understand the importance of authenticity in love. It was not just about passion or excitement. It was about being true to each other, even when it was uncomfortable. One evening, I found myself gazing out the window, lost in thought. Mark joined me, standing close enough that I could feel his warmth. "What's on your mind?" he asked softly. I turned to him, my heart racing. "I'm just thinking about how much I've taken for granted. I want to appreciate you more, the little things we share." He nodded, a hint of relief in his eyes. "I want that too, Lila. We've both changed, and maybe that's not a bad thing. We can learn from this." As I looked at him, I realized that love was not just about what we felt in our hearts, but also about the choices we made every day. Every decision, every moment of honesty brought us closer to healing. In that moment, I knew I was on a new path, a path of redemption that required patience, understanding, and above all, love. I took Mark's hand in mine, feeling a sense of determination. "What does it mean to truly love?" I asked him, my voice steady. He squeezed my hand and smiled. "I think it means choosing each other every day, no matter what. And I choose you." Tears filled my eyes, but this time they were tears of hope. As we stood together, ready to face whatever lay ahead, I felt the promise of a new beginning. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when open communication transformed your relationship, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this one.